Hey guys, Fletch from All Things Overlanding here, and today, if you're watching this on YouTube or on Spotify, you may notice that I'm in a hospital gown. I'm in the hospital. There's a reason for this, and if you saw my social post a few days ago, this will make a lot more sense. But if you are not familiar with the situation, you don't know what's going on, let me explain it to those listening on the podcast and everything. About 2 weeks ago, started to have some chest pains, and being the, don't go to the doctor a lot type, I sort of fought it and thought maybe it's stress, maybe it's heartburn, maybe it's something else, and kind of ignored it for a few days. And it continued to sort of get more serious and worse. And my wife was like, we need to go see a doctor. And luckily, a sister-in-law of mine is a cardiologist, so she called her. So again, I'm just going to briefly kind of walk you through the history of it, what happened, kind of my health background. And the reason for this is that I just want to share with you guys, right? Because again, 2 weeks ago, I went to the doctor and they said I was boring. They said that I don't take any prescriptions. I'm not allergic to anything. I don't do drugs. I drink some beers and stuff, but nothing crazy. My cholesterol is maybe a little bit high, but nothing to be worried about. And my wife's is actually higher than mine, and she doesn't even take cholesterol medicine. So there are a number of things just to be aware of with your health. And I think this relates to overlanding because I've talked about this in the past. Overlanding can be a good mental escape, right? It can be a way to sort of get away from the stresses of everyday work and jobs and things like that. But also you need to take care of your health, right? You need to think about the physical side of yourself. And, overlanding can be that thing as well. But if you have something catastrophic happen like I almost did, then it may prevent you from doing overlanding or whatever you like to do in your life. So again, I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I want to just give you guys a heads up because this was a big shock to me and quite a surprise. So I want to share kind of my symptoms so that just in case if you guys feel anything like this, if you have anything like this, I hope that it helps you, take a closer look at it, possibly get to a doctor. Obviously, this will not be medical advice. I am not a doctor. So, take this all with a grain of salt, but I just wanted to kind of share my story with you guys and girls so that you at least have some background on what happened. Also, a lot of people have been asking questions, so I figured this might just be the easiest way to sort of wrap this up and give you guys all the info. So if you want to hear more about my near heart attack and my open heart surgery that I had 4 days ago, stay tuned to hear more on that. All right, guys. So again, as you can see, I'm sitting in a recliner. My bed is over there. I'm in the hospital right now. Today is Monday. I came in last Wednesday and I had open heart surgery Friday morning. So it's been about 4 days, a little over 4 days now since I had the surgery. I'm doing fine. I'm 45 years old, so I was luckily able to recover pretty quickly. But again, I'm going to kind of start at the beginning. I'm going to walk back about 2 weeks. I'm going to kind of tell you guys about my symptoms, tell you about what happened, catch you up on all that stuff. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the progression of events and kind of how it all went down once we came to the hospital, and then kind of what my recovery has been like and that sort of thing. And then kind of end with my final thoughts on what helped me sort of diagnose it, what helped push me over the edge to go to the doctor. Again, luckily before it turned into a more serious incident, with the hope that this is helpful for you guys and girls and makes you maybe second guess. If you have any weird stuff like this, it's always better to be safe than sorry. So let's kind of go back a little bit, about 2 weeks, and let's talk about what all's been happening the last couple of weeks. So I will say 2 weeks ago from the previous Friday, so when I had my open heart surgery, I actually ended up going to the woods that evening to shoot some videos and things like that. I was planning on camping. I ended up not camping. I just shot a few videos, and then I was actually done around dinner time, 8 o'clock. And so I decided just to go home because it was really hot. It was like 90 degrees. And I was kind of having some feeling short of breath. And I was like, you know what? I just feel tired. I feel kind of out of it. I'm just going to go home. But so 2 weeks ago on a Friday, I left at the end of the day, headed down to Hoosier National Forest, set up my tent, set up everything, started shooting some gear videos, right? At that time, it definitely was not nearly as bad as it got over the next week and a half after this. But I definitely did experience some shortness of breath. I felt a little weird. I felt a little tired, right? And I was like, what is going on? I'm 45, I get that, but I shouldn't be this tired, right? So I sort of did notice something a couple weeks ago, and I videoed it essentially because I had all these videos, and you can kind of see that I'm kind of getting out of breath and stuff in the talking, but not real bad. So then fast forward a little bit, go through that weekend. I think we had some sporting events. We did some things. The following week, I had to go to the office a couple of days that week. So I went to the office, and kind of my office has a lot of stairs and stuff in it. So I would sort of hit the stairs. You kind of go downstairs and then back up some stairs, and then I'd go up other stairs to the second floor. And I would get up to the second floor, and I'm just like, kind of feeling like the burn. So the way that it felt for me, the symptoms that I experienced were starting sort of in the middle of my chest near my sternum. It would sort of tend to be towards the left, so towards the heart side, and it would expand out onto the top part of my arms and kind of up into the bottom of my neck. So when I would exert myself was when I would feel it. Sometimes I was kind of like trying to decide, is it stress related? Because, when I would wake up in the morning, I'd run downstairs, I'd go to the basement, I'd get my computer, I'd come back upstairs, I'd sit down, I'd start to look at emails, like Monday morning after the Friday when I was out in the woods, I was kind of had a lot of stuff to catch up on. And I'm like, man, I'm so stressed. And I kind of felt a little tightness in my chest. And I'm like, maybe this is just stress, right? And then when I went to the office that week, then I felt more out of breath than I normally would, a little bit more in the way of like tightness in my chest, and that sort of it felt kind of muscular to me, and maybe like it might be in my veins, but felt more muscular. Like I had done some, like I put an axle back on my new car that weekend before, so I was like, maybe I tweaked my muscles a little bit putting that thing up, because once you kind of start to do something like that, you just have to go with it. You don't really have a choice. If the exhaust needs to be moved in a certain way to get it to line up with the bolts and stuff, you just kind of do it. So I thought, well, maybe I tweaked something when I was working on the car. So went through that whole week. Tuesday, Wednesday, I kind of had to do a lot for work. I even had to go to a client's office and then like give a presentation there and stuff. That seemed to make it worse. So if you have to like do things that you can't stop for, right? So if I couldn't control the exertion, if I had to perform, basically, I call it like performative, anxiety or whatever. Like I felt like, I have to like be on because I'm presenting to a group of people right now. That would make it worse. Another example is then the following week on that next Tuesday, I ended up going to the post office. I was about a half a block away from where I parked. I walked down. I had to give the guy the package, and I said, hey, here's this box. It's already got a label on it. He's like, cool, set it down there. I set it down there. And the minute I walked out the door, I was just like kind of out of breath. And it's kind of at one point later on that sort of following week, the second week, it became more than just like a tightness in the chest. It almost started to feel like burning a little bit. So then I was like, this does feel like maybe it's something, in the lungs, maybe it's something in my veins or something. It started to feel kind of hot. So that was kind of strange. But so then that was that following week. But before I get ahead of myself, that next Friday, so after the Friday where I shot the videos, the following Friday, I started to work on my car in the evening. And I kind of started to notice it again more severely. And I mentioned it to my wife, and she knows that I never complain about anything. I never want to go to the doctor. Like I never talk about anything. So she took it really seriously. And she was like, I was putting suspension on the car, put suspension on the car that following weekend. And she's like, you need to take it easy. You don't need to be doing this. So she called her sister-in-law, who is a cardiologist, and she said, look, I don't think you need to like rush out to the ER or anything like that. But we should probably get you in to see somebody, like whether it's me or one of my colleagues. Let me find you somebody over there by where you live, and maybe we can get you in over there. But maybe like early next week. So I said, sure, that's fine. I'm willing to do that, right? Like it does feel weird to me. I want to get it checked out. So that following Monday, I did see a colleague of hers who was great, and he did an EKG. They checked all my vitals and everything, right? They did blood work and stuff on me. And so when I left, though, they were kind of like, nothing is obvious, right? Like, but we won't really know anything. We probably ought to do a CT angiogram, which is basically where they put dye in you, and then they can kind of see how your blood is pumping and stuff. And they kind of scan you, right? They x-ray you essentially with this dye in your system so they can see how your blood is flowing. But they said, but you got to call them. It's a third party, vendor that does that. So I called them the minute I got home, and they were like, we're like 3 weeks out. So they got me scheduled, but it was like 3 weeks out, which right now is about a week and a half, 2 weeks still in the future since I had my open heart surgery 3-4 days ago. So at that time, again, they were doing everything that they could, but they didn't, even then they were like, your cholesterol's a little high, but it's not anything to be super worried about. Like they were like, we don't see anything that should freak you out, and you shouldn't freak out about it, but we should get you tested, right? So then at that point, then that was Tuesday, Wednesday. I think Wednesday we actually got a phone call. On Wednesday morning, I woke up and I felt it even more. I was like, I feel this like pain. You can kind of see my scar there where they got me open. I kind of feel this pain in my chest more. And I mentioned it to my wife, and I was kind of getting upset. I'm like, this is really weird, right? Like, I don't complain about stuff. I don't, generally like to go see doctors and things. And I was like, but I feel like this is something weird. And my wife was like, we need to take this seriously. And she was actually running out the door to take one of our cats to the vet. So she did that. And on her way, she called my sister-in-law, the cardiologist, again. And on her way back, she didn't call me because she didn't want to freak me out or have me be like, take off and go to the office because I was like, I had a big important meeting that day, and I was like, we need to go to the office. Like maybe after that we can go to the doctor. But so she called her sister-in-law, and her sister-in-law is like, you just need to take this seriously. Go to the heart hospital. I will call ahead. I'll let them know you're on the way. Just get in there and get checked out. We'd rather eliminate it and make sure that it's not something serious. So Wednesday morning, we went to the heart hospital, walked in the door. I'm literally wearing my polo for work, right? And jeans. I'm ready to go to my work meeting and stuff. We go in, they're like, the best way to figure this out is just to do a cath, which is basically to put like a probe up your arm. So it goes in through your vein on your wrist, goes up into your heart, and then they can see everything up in there. And they kind of pulled me out of it. You're kind of awake, kind of, but you don't remember anything during the cath. And at the end, they kind of pulled me out of it. And they're like, look right here. And they showed me a video of it. And you could see these like big black, like just the pumping blood going through 2 of the 3 arteries. And the third one was just completely shriveled up and almost nothing was getting through it. And they're like, you're like 90% occluded in the LAD, which is sort of the main artery coming from your heart. And I almost couldn't believe it. Like, I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, you know, but you don't have any like risk factors. You don't smoke, like you know, like, but it's happening, right? Like it's probably genetic. It's probably that it can happen genetically where like all of a sudden you can just have something like this. The platelets start to build up. I don't know if it's like was building up for years and years and then finally started to move faster, or if literally 2 weeks ago I was fine and then something got damaged in my heart or something genetic happened that caused the platelets to start to stick. But regardless of exactly how it happened, that main artery, I was 90% occluded. And, you know, we asked the doctor, we were like, well, what does that mean? Like, do you have to get to 100%? And they're like, I mean, you if the blood stops flowing, but you don't necessarily have to be at 100%. I could have had a heart attack any moment. So some people know that artery as the widowmaker. So like that is one where like if that one gets blocked, you are very likely to, you know, I could have died. I could have just literally gone to my work thing that day and just died, or it could have been very serious where it damages your heart and damages your valves and stuff. It creates something, I forget what it's called, but there's like a enzyme or something that gets created when you have heart distress or a heart attack, and then that can damage the rest of your heart. So luckily we were able to avoid all that. I was able to get in here. They gave me what's called heparin, which is like a blood thinner that made it easier for my heart to pump. So by Friday morning, then luckily they were able to get me scheduled for an open heart surgery. So they basically sliced into my chest, cut me open. They do stop your heart when that happens. They put you on what they call bypass. I was intubated. They went in there, they cut another artery out of, I believe it's up here in my chest, and then they bypassed the bad one. They do leave it in there because they don't want to cause any blockages to like be slung elsewhere, but so they leave that in there and they just bypass it basically. So they put in this new section of artery that replaced it and allows me to pump blood. And the doctors were very excited because they're like, he's young enough that he should recover well from this, and it's only the one blockage. There's no like buildup anywhere else. It's not like, you know, my whole heart is just packed full of plaque or anything like that. It's just the one spot. So it's really wild. But I mean, that's part of why I wanted to make this episode, was to tell you guys and girls, right, is like, I've always been fairly healthy. I mean, I'm not the most healthy person. I'm not the skinniest person in the world. I do enjoy craft beers. I do like bourbon. I do like eating food and stuff. But it's not like I drink 12 pops a day or sodas a day, depending on where you are, if you're in the Midwest or not. It's not like I'm just have like the worst diet ever. Like we eat pretty good at home. We do home chef. We make our own dinners and stuff. So I mean, like we're not necessarily like the picture of health, we're also definitely not on the like bad end of the spectrum where we just eat a ton of junk food and eat out all the time and that sort of thing. So you just never know. Heredity plays a big part in this, and your genetics play a big part in this. We did find out in talking to my mom that her, dad had a heart attack at like 74, and my great grandpa had a heart attack at like 44. So there is some history of heart attacks on her side of the family, which we did not know about previously. So again, just if you have chest pain, things like that, don't downplay it. Don't play it off as it might be stress, it might be heartburn, whatever. What one of the doctors said to us that really kind of hit us was, it's heart until proven otherwise. And again, because it's so serious, because it could be something that literally kills you, it's better to be on the safe side. Go and get the tests done. If they tell you have to wait for 3 weeks to get this stuff, but you really feel like something is wrong, you need to advocate for yourself. You need to push to make sure that you get the care that you need to check on it and make sure, worst case, you find out that nothing's wrong. I kind of anticipated coming in and being like, your cholesterol's a little high. We need to put you on some medication. I didn't, but I had no idea. I mean, it never occurred to me that I could have died a week ago. So again, very, very serious stuff, but wanted to share that story with you in hopes that it is helpful for you guys. And also, again, there's been a lot of questions. I've kind of been gone for 5-6 days, just kind of disappeared and have not really posted a whole bunch or said a whole lot. Most of it has been sitting in a bed waiting. And then, once you have the surgery, then you kind of have to recover from that. Luckily, again, I'm mid 40s, so I was able to recover pretty quick. I'm also pretty bullheaded. So I've been just forcing myself to get up and walk around the halls and do the steps and do all the things that they want you to do to prove that you're ready to get out of here. So I should be getting out of here tomorrow, which will be Tuesday. So again, open heart surgery Friday, and then Tuesday, hopefully leaving to go home. So excited about that. But then I have about 6 to 8 weeks. So the recovery looks like about 6 to 8 weeks of not lifting anything over 10 pounds, not being able to drive, which is a lot for me. It's also right during all of my expos. So I'm not going to be going to Overland of Americas. I need to reach out to those guys. I unfortunately won't be able to go to that. I won't be able to go to the Wisconsin thing that I wanted to go to probably. If I'm very, very lucky, hopefully I can get to Overland the Red towards the end of October. We'll have to see how everything goes between now and then. But again, just take this stuff very seriously. You don't have to be a Billy Badass. You don't have to be, tougher than anybody else. If you have heart concerns, if you have concerns for your health, get yourself taken care of, right? Because this could have been way worse. I might never have been able to overland again. I might never have been able to go hike. I might never have been able to do a lot of things again. If I had ignored this and ended up having a heart attack last Wednesday, I would still be in here, still doing the same stuff, but I'd be in a much worse situation. So again, just get yourself checked out. Hopefully that's helpful. As always, down in the description below will be links to all my other social channels. So wherever you want to come, join the conversation, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, wherever, I'm everywhere. Check out those links. There will also be a link to my website where I've got funny overlanding camping themed patches and stickers, things like don't burn your wiener and it's a hot dog, or I hate people so I camp. So if you're into stickers and patches, check those out. There's also a join button below this video. If you are on YouTube, if you're on the podcast, just ignore this part. But that's just a passive way to support the channel, get you early access to the videos. Whether you're on the podcast or YouTube, if you want to join the Patreon, starts at $5 a month. But we have a 24/7 Discord where we all kind of hang out, chat about our gear and our rigs. That's a ton of fun, so check that out. And then last but not least, there is a link to the Newbie Overlanders Facebook group. Totally free to join. Awesome people in there. Tons of great content, great questions. If you want to learn more about overlanding, that's a great place. Again, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.